Hello everyone, Edward Zula here. Good afternoon. Psychic medium, metaphysical teacher, student of the universe. Glad to be with you today. Now, today's video is about the difference between what I do and what the television ghost hunters, ghost spirit chasers do, okay? Because there's a really, really big difference. But first, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the tools, because I actually use one or two of the same tools that they use. So let's talk about some of the tools that you've seen on these shows. The first one is an EMF reader. Now, the one I have here, it's actually something you could buy at Radio Shack, and it's electromagnetic frequency reader. Now, this measures changes in energy flow. And right now, you can hear what that's reading. When I usually do my videos, I have a lot of spirit activity around me, and that's why this is in the red. However, there's another reason that can cause that meter to jump around, and that is, very simply, if you're standing by your fuse box and you put your EMF reader up against the fuse box, it's going to be off the charts. If you're on the wall behind your fuse box and you put this up against the fuse box, it's going to be off the charts. A lot of the work that you do when you're using an EMF reader, you have to debunk what is happening. Okay, now usually what happens is I will be sitting here with a client very quietly. The EMF reader will be somewhere in the, like, it calmed down. You see, it calmed down. It was all excited when I started doing this, and then it dropped down. Okay, so let's calm down. So it's very important to debunk what your EMF is giving you, because especially if you're in an older home and you're doing work in an older home or an older building, these ghost hunters that go into these older buildings and they have these EMF readings that are off the charts, and yes, it's showing a very, very high level of electromagnetic frequency, which we understand, right, is what spirit uses to manifest and to communicate and to flicker light bulbs and to make odd things happen. Okay, but if you're in an old home and you're doing an investigation, or an old building and you're doing an investigation, you want to know. It's sort of like a stud finder in a way. You know, if you're doing any kind of woodwork and you're trying to find, you know, where the stud is so that you can drive a nail into the wall and know that something can be hung from the stud behind the plasterboard. This is sort of similar in that it helps you find where all the electrical wiring might be in the house. Because if you're using this and you're walking through a room and it's going off really ferociously, there's a very good possibility you might be standing in the middle of an electrical energy field. So I didn't bother to put on the candle sign. Sorry, I'm going to try to get through as much of this as possible. So anyway, it's really, really important. If you're going to get an EMF reader, and you can, by all means, this is not one of the toys I don't recommend. If you are interested in doing work and you want to know if you have spirits around you, this might be something to get online. This is called a Gauss meter, Gauss Master, and it requires a 9-volt battery, and has been very, very, very useful for the work that I do, and confirming, in fact, that spirits are around the clients that come in and visit me. So this is an EMF reader. You see very, very complicated versions of these on TV. They all do the same darn thing. All right, that's that. The next thing is a this is when they're checking the temperature fluctuations. They'll use one of these devices that actually, I think I took the battery out of this to use it for something else. But at some point I thought I really needed to have all these things. Nope, I don't. So anyway, this is a temperature fluctuation measuring device. So if they go, oh, there's a cold spot over here, and they go over and they're measuring, and then, yeah, you know, oh, you're right, look at the difference in the temperature, and we'll show you the difference in temperature and the fluctuation right on the screen. All right, that's one other device that they use. They use another device, which is a spirit box. What I have is not actually a spirit box, so I'm not even going to show you that. But I want to talk a little bit about voice boxes or spirit communication devices. First of all, they are designed to fluctuate randomly in a very regular kind of pattern across all radio bands. AM and FM radio bands, CB bands, that's what these meters do. Okay, the EMF readers. I'm sorry, the voice box readers. And so you hear static, you hear weird noises. That's sort of like if you were just standing and turning a radio dial, that's kind of the sound you get. And the theory is that when you get between stations, you are in a space where spirit can communicate and voices will manifest and words will come up. I have yet, honestly, I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, I've watched a lot of these shows, everything from, well, I'm not even going to mention any names right now, but I watched a lot of these shows, and they say they're hearing a word or a name or something. You know, there was this really funny comedian on television the other night, and he was talking about how his young children misunderstand phrases in songs. And so they'll hear a song on the radio, and they will, you know, blah, 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 and mess up a whole, like, line. Kids do it with the Star Spangled Banner. They do it with the Pledge of Allegiance. So the point I'm trying to make is when you're using one of those devices and you think you hear something, if you really want to believe you hear something, you're going to hear it. Okay? I've never really heard anything very clearly that I can say for sure was a voice from the other side manifesting and saying something. And, you know, a lot of these shows are produced for the effect of being thrilling and exciting and scary and what have you. Sincerity, a whole nother topic. Okay, so they spend a lot of time and money producing and going and finding haunted locations, and I don't mean they're not haunted, I just mean that they're known to be haunted. And so this is where the difference in our work lies. At some point, we just had, you know, people going in to determine if a place was actually haunted. Well, okay, that's great. They go in, they bring all their fancy equipment, and they've got their headsets on, and they're sitting in their booths, and they've got this and that going on and whatnot. And they walk, the credits start rolling, and what's different? All you know is they say, yeah, it's haunted, and they're out of there. I'm sorry, that's not real helpful. It's entertaining, and that's the thing to remember. That it's entertaining. And if you watch it for the entertainment, that's great. But there are one or two shows that have actually married the work of a medium with the ghost hunting, for lack of a better term. And one of them is called Kindred Spirits, which I really do like. Okay, I really, really do like Kindred Spirits. Because they come from a very clean space. Okay, I've been fans of both of the stars of that show from when they were on a previous show that did this kind of work. But the reason I like that show is to... The reason I like that show... I'm sorry, I was distracted. The reason I like that show is because they are there to try to help. They're trying to help the family have more understanding about, a loved one being present. Sometimes, it gets a little dicey where it's like the people who used to live in the house or anyway. So already 11 minutes in. This is going to be a long video. So the other one that there are parts that I like, but parts I really, really don't like about it is called The Dead Files. And I'll tell you what I don't like about this. What I don't like about this is that I have yet to see an episode where there isn't some kind of creepy crawly creature coming out from under the bed, over the bed, on top of the bed, out of the closet, out of the woodwork, all of these drawings. I mean, it's very interesting. The history is interesting. If in fact they're doing what they're saying they're doing, which is that, they do not communicate, that the detective and the medium do not actually communicate until they sit down in front of the client and deliver their reveal. It's interesting, but it bothers me. Two things bother me, I'll be perfectly honest. Every single house that they're ever in, there are crosses on the walls. Now this says something to me immediately about the belief system about the family. It is not failed. I can watch every episode after episode, and there is always a cross on the wall here, a crucifix there, religious object over here. Now, I know they try to cover this stuff up, but when this is in the reveal and the stuff is around, and the other thing is all the lighting of the candles that are lit behind the family when they're doing the reveal to add the creep factor. It bothers me. It really bothers me. And let me explain. They're in there. Most of these ghost hunting shows are in there trying to find evidence of spirit. Oh, so they find it? Oh, cool, great. We're out of here. We proved it. It was scary. Oh, we all got scared and jumped and dropped our equipment. There's a big difference from that and what I do. Okay. When clients come to me, it's very personal. They're looking for healing. They're looking for closure. They're looking for proof. They're looking for proof and reassurance that their loved one is in a safe place. They want proof that there is something after life here on earth. It gives me great honor. It gives me honor. I'm honored to work with these people. I'm honored to help them to understand that we live in spirit world. They're not off somewhere else. They're around us. We live in a great big soup of spirit and cosmic consciousness. And we're just these three-dimensional beings plodding along in the middle of all of this. So clients come in. I want to help them. It's personal. It's about a very specific loved one. And it's not about gadgets and all of this. It's not about that. I don't need these things to help a client communicate with a willing departed one. So yes, the thing we have in common is occasionally I might use that. Oh, and I also use divining rods, which will take my eye out if I let them swing around too much. So, but I use divining rods, and that helps me locate spirit in an actual room. But I don't. I rarely use those. I use those if I'm going to a home and someone has passed away and there are questions and so forth. But the bottom line is what I do is very personal. It's one-on-one or sometimes with a family, and they have questions about a specific individual, someone that they care about. They want a message, they want confirmation. They're not, somebody with a ranch out in Oklahoma that has a haunted doll named Tessie that sits in a rocking chair and we put a voice box on the... Okay, no. So, I have been asked over and over again, what is the similarity between what I do and what they do? The other thing is that those shows are now using mediums and psychics to come in with them. Chip Coffey is phenomenal. Props to him. I really, really love his work. He's so cool. And it's just, I love Chip Coffey. So he's often involved in kindred spirits, and he was also involved in Psychic Kids, which was a really, really, really good show. He is now not involved in the new version of that, though. But before, initially, when they first had Ghost Hunters, they weren't using psychics or mediums to come in and help out with any of this stuff. This has evolved. Now that, we have all these psychics and mediums have their own TV shows or doing different presentations on talk shows or what have you, or we have the Long Island Medium, Teresa, or James Van Prague, or John Edwards, or any of these people. These ghost hunters have decided, let's ante up the game and bring in a medium, and that's exactly what goes on with the Dead Files. Is you've got a cop, hard-boiled detective, and you've got a medium working together. It's almost like it could be a dramedy, like weekly dramedy, but it's a very serious show. I just have some trouble with things that always seem to come up in their episodes. So I hope that explains the difference between what I do and what they do. And I don't mean to mock them, because they're entertaining and they have an audience and they get season after season after season, and new shows keep popping up because there's an interest in this stuff. But I would prefer that people would be interested in it on a more personal level, that they would be wanting to develop their own abilities to reach out with spirit or to recognize signs. I worry about things like spirit boxes. Let me talk about this. There have been apps added onto the telephone, and there is a new app, and I'm not going to mention it, but there's a new app, and also this sort of falls in the same family for me as Ouija boards. Guys, if you're playing with an app that is like a voice box, and it's doing the same thing, it's scanning across radio bands, and you hear random words and pieces of words, you know, and you're wanting to hear something, you're going to hear something. Okay? My fear about those things and Ouija boards is that when we start to open ourselves up, open our energy up, open our spirit up to communicate with whoever or whatever is out there. I feel the same way about some of these shows, because there have been issues where people have had attachments. And an attachment is when a spirit that they encounter in one of these entertaining shows winds up connecting with one of the people on the show and goes home with them because the energy is available and it clings. Don't want to talk too much about attachments, but it worries me that when people use Ouija boards and voice communicators and they're so eager to hear something or communicate from anyone or with anyone. Spirit, if there's a spirit in the room, would you please tell us your name? Spirit, if there's someone present, answer us, please. Give us a sign. Look, we don't know everything that's out there. I am pretty certain there's some dark stuff. And I think it's really foolish for anyone. I don't use Ouija boards. I don't use voice boxes, spirit communicators. It's foolish to open yourself up with those devices and sit there and you're very busy focusing on whatever that thing is, whether it's the Ouija board or the spirit box, and who knows what energy you're attracting. It scares me that I hear people doing things like this. So, I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you, be careful, because you might get something that you're not expecting. And negative energy can definitely disguise itself as something familiar in order to reach you. Okay. If you're just open to anything like, what is your name? And it says spelled out, you know, Theodore or Maisie or whatever, and then you start asking questions. Are you here with us? Are there any other spirits with us? And you get random answers. Yes, no, whatever it is. That's fun, but it's dangerous. Attachments are a real thing. So, which is why, before I do a reading, before anyone comes in, I do meditation to protect myself from any glomming energy or spirit. It's a little routine that I do, and I basically say only let in what is good for me. And that's it. So, questions, comments down below, please. Would love to hear it. If you've had a bad experience with something, a Ouija board or, you know, a spirit box, please save your money. If you want to get an EMF, an electromagnetic frequency reader, they're good to have just to check your house to see if your walls are overloaded. Okay? Love you all. Hope this was informative. And wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask until you're told you don't need one, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye.